Imagine sealing yourself inside a wooden box, 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, 2.5 feet deep. No room to stand, no room to stretch, barely room to breathe. Now imagine doing it, because the alternative is slavery. This is the story of Henry Box Brown, the man who mailed himself to freedom. Henry Brown was born in Virginia in either 1815 or 1816. We don't know the exact year. For enslaved people, birthdays weren't carefully recorded. They were listed as property, not people. By the early 1800s, the United States had banned the importation of enslaved Africans, so slaveholders turned inward. They forced enslaved families to reproduce. Virginia became one of the largest slave-exporting states in America. At some point before 1848, Henry married a woman named Nancy, but enslaved marriages weren't protected by law. There were no legal documents, no guarantees. Nancy belonged to a different slaveholder. That meant their love existed on borrowed time. Because even in bondage, people find ways to hope. One of Nancy's owners promised Henry something. "Pay me, and I won't sell your wife and children." Henry trusted him. In August of 1848, that promise was broken. Nancy and their children were sold, taken away. Henry never saw them again. Historians have never found clear records of what happened to them. In a single moment, his world was erased, and something inside him changed. Alone, and with nothing left to lose, Henry made a decision. He would escape. With the help of a white abolitionist named Samuel Smith and a free black man named James K.L. Smith, he conceived an almost unthinkable plan. He would ship himself north as cargo in a wooden crate.
The box was built to precise dimensions, 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, 2.5 feet deep, just large enough for a grown man to sit with his knees pressed against his chest. No padding, no ventilation system, just wood, nails, and faith. But first, Henry needed a way out of the fields. Slaveholders did not accept excuses. Minor injuries weren't enough. So Henry did something extraordinary. He poured sulfuric acid, oil of vitriol, onto his own hands. The liquid burned through skin, through flesh, down to bone. The pain must have been unbearable. But it worked. He was excused from labor. And now, there was no turning back. On March 24, 1849, Henry climbed into the crate. He folded his body into the cramped space. The lid was lowered. Nails were hammered shut, and the light disappeared. The crate was labeled dry goods. It traveled by wagon, by rail, by steamboat. No one knew a man was inside. At one point, the box was turned upside down. For hours, blood rushed to his head. His burned hands throbbed. He had only a few crackers, a small amount of water, and 27 hours to survive. If the box had cracked, if the air had run out, if someone had grown curious, Henry Brown would have died in total darkness. In Philadelphia, abolitionists from the Vigilance Committee were waiting. They knew something extraordinary was arriving. When the crate entered the room, they gathered around. A crowbar slid beneath the lid. The nails began to lift. The lid opened. Inside was Henry Brown, alive. He emerged from the crate and collapsed. After 27 hours without movement, after suffocating heat and relentless pain, he had survived. When he regained consciousness, he began to sing, an improvised psalm of gratitude. He was no longer property. He was free. Henry Box Brown became a symbol, not just of escape, but of ingenuity, of endurance, of a man who refused to accept the limits placed upon him. Sometimes freedom requires courage. Sometimes it demands sacrifice. And sometimes it comes in a wooden box.